this content is for kids.
It's not for kids.
Isn't that what I said?
No, it's not for kids. If you are 13 years or younger, this is not for you. Do I have to kill somebody in order to actually make that point across?
No, man, you don't have to kill
Wait
no one.
a second.
Oh, no.
When we return to our planet, the High Court may well sentence you to torture.
He likes movies, we like movies. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. I'd buy that for $1.
Greetings! You're watching SeptumSin versus the world. I'm SeptumSin. This is Kotobukijake.
Hey.
And we're here to show you what we got.
Again.
Show me what you got. I want to see what you got. Oh boy.
Now, this is our 200th pickup episode. You know, I was looking at our 100th episode, and we have come a long ways. And even further from the first episode. The first pickup, I don't even know if you were. I think you were. I think I brought you in for the first pickups.
I think so. I think that was like, what, the fourth or sixth
Yeah, I was in the
video you did?
townhouse when I was
Yeah.
I deride your truth handling abilities.
So, yeah, we have, this has been 4 years, over 4 years that we have done this craziness.
That is crazy.
We got a ring light so we look all washed out because we're not wearing makeup. But otherwise, things are pretty good as far as things go. And we have decided that instead of doing a 3-hour epic compilation of everything we do on the channel like we did last time,
Get used to disappointment.
this time we're going to make it about a celebration. A celebration of physical media.
Mm-hmm.
And I want us to start out, we're going to do a pickup extravaganza with us and all our friends. So why don't we start out...
All my friends.
Exactly. I need to get a capture of that.
All my friends! Hey! Eddie, you're in too. Pour yourself a drink.
and put that up there. Maybe I will. Who knows? But we're going to have some fun, I think.
Hmm?
So let's go ahead and start some stuff that might have a little bit of deeper meaning to us. It may not have something strongly personal. It may be something extremely valuable that we were like, ha! But it could just be something that has a great sentimental value.
Mm-hmm.
I have a good mix. I'm sure that he has a good mix. Or a bad mix. Or some sort of mix. Chex mix.
You, our viewer, can find out.
But I'll start us off. And we do a lot of movies here, so I thought we would start off with a couple of non-movies. Now this is my oldest CD. I do not have my first cassette, but my first ever CD came with my first ever CD player. Kefka's Domain, which is the soundtrack to Final Fantasy III at the time. Actually, Final Fantasy VI, really, in Japan. And as you can see, it's gotten some wears along the way. But it's a 3-discer. And Final Fantasy VI, to this day, has an amazing soundtrack. I mean, it is still an awesome one. These CDs are kind of scratched to the point where they mostly play, but they're kind of worn over the years. I mean, it happens. I mean, you can see there's a little bit of scratchiness. Of course, they also went through the big car wreck that I was involved in 2001, I believe, and that caused great damage to most of my CDs.
Well, it's good that survived then.
I do have it digitized, so I do have all of the all the soundtracks from here, but this probably wouldn't play if I threw it in the CD player. But I keep it around mainly for, well, nostalgia value, because this was my very first CD, and for a while I was deep into music. He knew me when I actually collected more music, and he was huge into music as well.
Yeah, when I was in college, I was actively collecting CDs. That was really the start of my, but we'll get a little bit into the start of, you know, this one gave me this idea at the 11th hour, and strangely enough, it jibes very heavily with what I was planning to do.
Yep.
But because of the fact that a good chunk of my collection is still in storage, and even some of what's at the house has to be searched through, I wasn't able to go for firsts for this first pickup, unfortunately. I do still have my first CD, which is Alan Jackson's Greatest Hits collection, and it is a quality collection, and it mostly plays. I think one or two of the tracks got not necessarily worn out from overuse, because I think the one that skips is one I rarely played, but you know, that happens sometimes. I could guess what my first cassette was. It was probably either the Linda Ronstadt's Greatest Hits or a Beach Boys collection. I think I still own both of those, but that's definitely in storage. I was kind of late coming to most format changes. Like, my family skipped Laserdisc altogether. But I eventually, like you said, got into collecting CDs and got into it big. Another thing I got into big at college is one of the best and arguably best known music acts to come out of the RVA. Virginia has yielded some big names. Dave Matthews, Pharrell Williams, Patsy Cline. You know, there have been some big names out of Virginia. But the RVA itself has not yielded that many huge ones. One that flirted briefly with national notoriety, but they're huge here in Virginia, is Carbon Leaf. And I'm a huge fan of theirs. And this case is a little scuffed up, but I brought what is probably my favorite CD that they've done, Indian Summer. And of course, you can tell one of the reasons why I brought this one, it's signed by the band. And I did meet them multiple times, and I even have a fun story. I saw them at the Canal Club downtown with Great Big Sea, a folk music group out of Canada. And they were opening up for Great Big Sea. The bad part of the story is that I ordered a White Russian and they made it with sour milk, and fire on you, Canal Club. But while Great Big Sea were doing their set, Carbon Leaf was chilling at the merch desk, and I chilled with them. I watched the Great Big Sea with Carbon Leaf, and that was really cool. So they probably don't remember me at all, and I haven't been to one of their shows in years. It's been too long. I need to get back. But of course, with COVID and everything, you know. But this is definitely one of my prized CDs, not just because it's signed. This is a flippin' kick-ass CD. It's not the easiest one to find, but this was at the height of their national popularity, so it's probably the easiest one. That one and Echo Echo are probably the easiest to order. So I'd recommend it if you've never tried them.
Okay, good. That's on the booklet.
Yeah.
So if it ever goes...
Oh, no, I always have them sign the book. I'm not going to...
I was going to say, because if you ever had to replace the case, at least you've got this that you can put...
Well, it's also one of the good things about having them do it in person versus buying an autographed one, because you never know what you're going... You
never know what you're going to get. So, I do have some reading that I do. It's very rare. And it's usually comics. Occasionally I read a novel, but I have to really be invested in it. I haven't presented a novel on here in ages. I want to say the last one was that one about the guy who jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge.
Right.
It had been a while. So but I'm not going to present a novel. I actually want to present something that got me into the previous, because I had a previous obsession prior to movie collecting. Matter of fact, he knew me during that part. I was more into that obsession back then, which was comic collecting. And my first comic book was an Uncanny X-Men issue. If I can find a copy of the thing, I'll post it up here so you can see it. That was the very first thing, and I did not treat it well. I did not treat most of the older ones.
Do you remember which issue?
It was one of the... It was during the Uncanny X-Men run. It was probably in the 200s, back when briefly Havoc led the team, because, well, everybody was dying. Roma, was it? I think was the one who brought the X-Men back to life.
Oh, the
it was
Fall of the Mutants.
It was a very
Yeah.
dark time.
Yeah.
People were dying left and right.
The X-Men died, and Roma brought him back to life.
And then they died again.
Kitty Pryde saw it all on television. And that was the direct formation of Excalibur, because I remember that very much, because I loved Excalibur.
It was also around the same time the Wolverine got crucified, Jubilee appeared, these
A
things.
little bit before Jubilee.
Yeah, so it was so around that time period. But that wasn't what really got me into it. I was too young. They just bought like a bunch of them for me to read on a thing. It was like it came in a little box, random. What happened was something that happened on the news. And I don't like OP characters, believe it or not. Even though I have Dragon Ball Z behind me.
You don't like which character?
I don't like overpowered characters all that much. Because to me, if it's just a character, unless it's a gimmick like One Punch Man, if it's a character that's not really challenged,
Right.
then it's boring.
Right.
And I can't let you... No, you can't kill Eevee. Don't kill Eevee.
Rosie's wandering around on the table.
When we had to kill Eevee. That's right, nobody gonna kill me. So, I was really in to people saying, he's dead for good. They're killing Superman. It was all over the news. And this is the actual comic that I have.
Nice.
And of course, I still have the black bag. The little stuff that came with it, the black band. People were wearing these black armbands for a while. And there's a poster in here as well. Let me see if I can pull it out. I'm kind of leery about this. This has not stirred in years. Oh, this was supposed to be oh, there it is. I was like, did it fade that much? See, Man of Steel dies depending the city. There's the actual article that they did. And I want to say, yep, there's a poster in here. There's a poster in here. And there is the poster. Which they did.
I remember that.
And I did collect a lot of these for a while. Funeral for a Friend. I actually have a signed copy of the one where Superman comes back officially. That's like the metallic one, and I got it signed by the artist and writer, which I'm not showing off here because it didn't quite go along. But I did want to mention it because it was one of the few times my father actually was trying to be thoughtful and got me a gift. He hunted down some stuff. He knew somebody that ran a comic shop that was in Covington briefly, and did that because I was in the hospital. I just had an operation, so he wanted to do something nice. So it was nice. And one of those rare things that kind of makes me think fondly. But I also got really into it, so I also collected the entirety. I mean, this is the entire run that led up to it. You have Doomsday's first appearance. Technically, first full appearance, because yes, there are. I think I do have the Man of Steel where it just shows his fist hitting the wall once, but I don't count that. The one where he basically trashes the Justice League, which is a very different looking Justice League than you would expect. I mean, freaking Blue Beetle, Booster Gold, Gosh, what was her name?
I do
Fire? No. Gosh, maybe it was Fire. Guy Gardner and that dude.
That dude.
That dude.
Definitely not the one I would imagine either.
So, of course, oh, and Ice. You see Ice down there. And there's a part, and I want to say it was in this one, that I found interesting.
Just one?
Well, I mean, there are all these parts, but look at this. I'm trying to think if... Because I think this is where Superman actually got involved in the fight. Yes. So, Superman lands, and he does this thing, basically, where you can see Doomsday just punches him. It's like, I'm not phased at all, because I'm Superman, motherfucker. I am the strongest man ever. Then he turns around and basically knocks the wind out of him, like, boom, ow.
Yeah.
And to me, that's like... To me, that was that moment of like, man, he is too powerful. He's gotten even to the point where he's kind of arrogant. And this guy literally knocked the wind out of him at the time. And then it became really a fight between Superman and Doomsday.
Mm-hmm.
I love that cover. One, the art is pretty darn cool in there. I love how you got the ripped suit and it slowly gets more and more ripped at the time. I just really like that. And then, of course, the one right before his death. And then the final one where you see his death. And they covered it in Batman v Superman in the most terrible way imaginable.
Pretty close.
So, you know, this was the best way to cover it. This actually is a storyline that meant a lot to me. It got me really interested. This one and the Green Lantern one, where Hal Jordan went crazy at Emerald Twilight and basically killed everybody.
Well, yeah, being able to bring comics was something that I definitely wasn't able to do. I checked. My prize comic, unfortunately, is suffering aging effects, and my all-time, the number one for me is Uncanny X-Men 129, which is first appearance of Kitty Pryde, first appearance of Emma Frost, first appearance of the Hellfire Club, the glancing reference to Dazzler, who showed up in the next comic. It's a good one. It's a great all-around intro for them. But so I had a copy in a safe, and it's showing environmental effects. It's interesting, though, that we both associate starting our collections with death and destruction, because I can't remember for the life of me which one was the first. It was either Wolverine 75, which is the Fatal Attraction, the Wolverine part of the Fatal Attraction storyline, where Magneto ripped the adamantium out of every pore of his body.
Those holograph covers.
Yes, and we tried to peel that one off because we were kids. We were stupid. I actually got into comics through the cards, and those holographic cards on the covers were so tempting. But the other one there was an old X-Men board game, and I wish I could find this again. You probably know it. If you don't, then we need to track it down for our game nights. But there's an old X-Men board game that was kind of fun that we used to play back in the day. My brothers and I had it, and it came with a free comic. And it was a copy of, I think it was Uncanny X-Men 304. Uncanny 305 was the Fatal Attraction comic, right? So it was 304. Because it was the one that directly led into Colossus defecting from the X-Men and joining Magneto, because it was the death of his sister Illyana. And that comic is one of the reasons why Illyana is one of my personal favorites. That comic was very centered on... There were basically four major characters: Illyana, Kitty, Beast, and Jubilee. And they were some other
Yeah,
characters
that was
involved.
when they had the virus.
Right, the legacy virus. Ileana was the first official casualty of the legacy virus, and eventually they had Colossus kill himself in order to end the legacy virus. And of course, they both came back, and now they're both
They got better.
Yeah, they got better. And it was also eventually retconned that their other sibling, Mikhail, was the one who infected Ileana in the first place in a misguided attempt to
Save her.
I
read that.
Yes.
Yeah, I read that comic. Yeah,
And that was interesting.
An Executioner song is where they released it. Mr.
Yes.
Sinister actually, it's kind of funny when it comes to it at the end. Mr. Sinister was tricked by Strife, which is a rare thing. You don't usually trick him into doing something like that.
Yeah, it's rare that you can get one up on Sinister, that's for sure. Which is all the more disappointing that New Mutants lobbed up Sinister as a big bad, and Disney is going to kill that hard. I mean, they're definitely. But anyway, so I did not bring comics, so I decided to go with books, and I looked around at what I had, and again, I like getting signed stuff. This is a I don't know. I don't think I presented this. I can't remember. I can't remember if I've presented this before, but we had something at our library very briefly called Festival of the Written Word, and I really liked it, and I was very bummed when the county management decided that they were going to do away with branch by branch festivals and only do big county-wide ones. And but at any rate, we did it for about 3 years. And one of the authors who came was this young lady here, Sarah Glenn Marsh, who did a really fun YA novel called Fear the Drowning Deep. And I actually read this in preparation for the event, and I was quite impressed by it. And so when she showed up, I bought a copy and I had her sign it. And so,
Very cool.
It's very cool. So it's really nice, and also this was a good chance. Both of these were good examples of trying to support your local artists. I always like to do that. I'm not as good at it as I would like to be, but I'm pretty good at it. And, so this is not like anything as earth-shattering as like my first comic or whatever, but it's still really cool, so.
Well, we got some pretty cool stuff here.
Yeah.
Oh boy. And, I am very curious about what? Huh. We got somebody wanting to contact us.
Oh.
Well, let's tune in.
Hello,
All right.
chumps. As you can see, I'm on life support thanks to everything else you did. But I'll show you a physical pickup. You see, here is the Pop-Tart comedy tape, filled with Paula Poundstone and other of the time comics. Of course, this is outdated, just like physical media and you.
Well, he's back. Well, but on life support.
Oh, well, that's good.
I had that Paula Poundstone thing. I actually ate Pop-Tarts to send away for it. And to this day, I will put that particular cassette in. Maybe not that one, but I will put it in there and watch it.
I don't have a way to watch cassettes right now.
I have a VCR sitting over there, so. But now we're on to the movies.
Yes.
So I've got a lot here.
Clearly.
Now, I am going to be talking about some stuff that's pretty cool. I'm going to start with this.
Okay.
So, I was a big Sailor Moon fan. It was one of the first animes I got into that I knew was an anime. And I used to watch it on Cartoon Express on USA. And I was super psyched when they finally decided they were going to bring that stuff into print again. So, I mean, you got a new English dub. That's not kind of embarrassing. And, of course, the original Japanese sub. I got the actual premium sets for these. So we got we've got Sailor Moon, and then Sailor Moon R. Arg. I'm not going to be showing off all the covers for these because this is only a prelude. The first movie. Mm-hmm. And then S, which, got that. So Sailor Moon S. Yes. Which introduced the cousins.
Kissing cousins.
Yes. And then, of course, S, the movie. And then Sailor Moon Super S.
Mm-hmm.
I think there you go. And then I haven't even watched all of these, which I need to get to. I've seen the whole series in the Japanese, and I've seen the whole series in the English, except for well, of course, there's the movie
I've seen
for
through
Super
R.
S. And then the main reason I got this, that I was really psyched, which was for the first time an official release of Sailor Stars, which completes the original Sailor Moon series in North America. Because they prudes. I mean, when you just can't, when you can't cover the fact that they are a boy band that turns into a bunch of girls afterwards, and then you can't just cover that up by saying, well, they're just cousins that are screwing each other. That sounds about right. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of...
We've come a long way since then.
Yes, we have. Culturally, we've come a long way.
Gonna be the twin tail where the main character does that every single episode.
So, but I did miss the crappy DIC dub. And I'm going to hold those for last. And I originally did have the... I sold them to Dave, but I had the season 1 and R original.
Right.
Was it Ginyan?
I believe so.
Release, which was the sub, but I already have the Japanese sub, which is here.
Yeah.
So I didn't really feel like I needed it. Mm-hmm. But what I didn't have was the old dub, which is what I wanted to collect. So I was able to find these relatively cheap for Sailor Moon S. Ese. There we go. That's like showing off these covers, which I'll be doing for a couple of these once I start showing them off. Mm-hmm. Don't worry, it's not all going to be anime. Just this pickup.
Just anime.
This is, but I love the covers on these. They have some really good covers. And all of these, by the way, have the sub and the dub on them, which is cool. But the terrible dub. Sailor Saturn is a cool character. I really like Sailor Saturn. And then we went to Super S. Good one of Sailor Mars there. Whoop. And there she is with her her man Pegasus.
Her man Pegasus. That just turns that way.
And that's essentially what it sounds like, sadly.
So remind me again, have you started with Crystal?
I finished the first couple of seasons.
Well, as far as collecting?
Oh, I've collected all but the movie because the movie hasn't released.
Oh, there it is. Oh, right, it's under Pretty Guardian.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Okay.
Sailor Senshi.
I thought about bringing this myself as one of my best pickups.
This is the movies.
Yes.
I did have those because, again, that old school dub action. And this actually had a lot of cool soundtracks and all this band. I mean, the person who did Sailor Moon's voice, she actually was a singer and did a lot of recordings and stuff. Sailor Moon was big back in the day.
Yeah.
But this one was the bigger one. These can still be gotten on the market in some form or another. But these, and even ones I got, are, well, they're not that common, but still, just the fact I was able to get something. I got the Australian release of the first 2 seasons in single, which are as rare as the original. But it's these are legit copies. Madman.
Do they have the same dub?
Yes.
It's weird. Think they would have dubbed it for a localization.
Nope, they have the same.
I would love to
crazy
watch.
dub.
I would love to watch that with an Australian accent. That would be cool.
And then we've got. I mean, I liked this. I think this season was done much better than they did Crystal. R is a little bit different because R they really started to amp up with Crystal and R, but that first one, oh my god. But yeah,
You talking about like as far as the show
show
quality
Crystal.
of the show?
Yeah, I was kind of disappointed by it.
I only got halfway through the first season. I was very disappointed by it.
The Doom Tree arc. There's where she is. They edited. They re-edited in where she comes down, and I think they have her holding an umbrella against Sailor Moon or something like that. Whereas in the original animation, she's holding a realistic-looking pistol to her head,
Huh.
which they're like too violent for children.
No.
People think that we're bad about that censorship nowadays. They were bad in the 90s.
Well, you know, that. Then again, they might have thought it was extremely violent because, you know, we still were thinking about the Penguin and his trick umbrellas, you know.
It is true. They like violence in live action, just not in cartoons.
Yeah.
You know, for kids.
And you know what? Today, I don't put this on the library. I actually think a patron did this. I found in the kids section Jeff Loeb's The Long Halloween, the Batman story in the kids graphic novels, and I found in the kids movies the Batwoman TV series, Shazam, and Birds of Prey. And I'm like, Shazam, maybe. Shazam. So you are done with your thought?
I am done.
Okay, I've got something much simpler than that. But basically, I'm going to start off with a theme. And if you watched the first segment of this, which hopefully you did because this came later, so I think you watched the first segment,
Yeah.
you will know that we started off talking about firsts. And that's the theme that I'm going with. And I'm going to dig all the way back. Where I briefly touched on cassettes. Back in the day, we had kind of a communal collection in my family. There was stuff that was definitely mom's or dad's. There was stuff that was purchased for myself and my brothers. But I don't think anyone really had a strong concept of ownership when it came to the media, which is, we did with toys.
Yeah.
We really did with toys. But with media, it was more, I don't know. So I mentioned the cassettes that were probably my first, but I probably had some before that and just, you know. I guarantee you I had VHS cassettes before this one. Probably quite a few Disney ones. Probably a few others. I don't know. But the movie that I have long considered to be the start of my VHS collection, and actually he met me kind of, I had a very brief VHS collecting phase, but it was intense. Like, I started in high school, I had a small box worth when I went to college. I probably had 7 boxes when I graduated college. And at that point, I had already started moving over to DVD. Probably the last VHSs I bought might have been 05, 06, if even that late. So I kind of got into VHS collecting on the tail end of VHS collecting. Not that some people in our group would disagree with that was the tail end of it, but I have largely gotten rid of my VHSs, but I will probably keep this one for probably forever. I have no intention to sell it, just for sentimental reasons. The movie that I consider to be the first VHS that I collected was a classic of epic proportions from our director we recently discussed on Movies Galore, Mel Brooks, with Robin Hood Men in Tights, which was a wonderful little film that came directly on the heels of Robin Hood Prince of Thieves, and actually one of my favorite, I guess you could say, sick burns in movie history. It was and why should we listen to you? Because unlike some other Robin Hoods, I can speak with a British accent. I just absolutely love that. The film probably is not as PC today as it wasn't even PC back then. The main music number that the title comes from, Men in Tights, is quite fun, but probably didn't age as well as the rest of the film did. But I think the film aged pretty well overall, and I still think it's one of Mel Brooks' more entertaining films, and one of the more entertaining spoof films out there. Cary Elwes was perfectly cast as Robin Hood. I mean, he really was. And it's a good, fun movie. And like I say, I've definitely converted this to DVD already. I'm actually thinking about further conversions for Mel Brooks. I mean, I probably won't act until they really do need to do a Criterion, like a full Mel Brooks Criterion collection. And if they did that, you can bet I would upgrade. But in the meantime, I've already upgraded, but this will stay in my collection, just like I said, for sentimental reasons, if nothing else.
You know, I've got all of Mel Brooks's films except Dracula Dead and Living, which is, by the way, out of print. But I don't know. I can't bring myself to buy it. Right. It was a terrible swan song. Robin Hood Men in Tights was the first time I had realized that they had stuff filmed for the trailers that they'd never put in the actual film. Yeah. I remember watching, my first trailer I watched for it was in theaters. And it was, you know, they did the thing where they follow the arrow, and then he shoots the arrow, and it's looking left.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
It goes in and then splits the tree in half.
Right.
And I thought that was just fun. And I was looking for it in the film and was like, nope. But still, some rather fun things. But
find the big rocks.
Let's, why don't we check in with some of our friends from other channels. Matter of fact, we have one right now.
I believe one who is still quite into the VHS collecting, if I recall. Yeah.
Well, here he is, right now.
SeptumSin, Kotobukijake, congratulations on 200 episodes in 4 years on YouTube. That is no easy feat. And it doesn't seem that long. It really doesn't. It seems like just yesterday you guys started up. So it's crazy how time has flown by. And you guys have been consistent with what you've done. You stuck to your guns. And that's there's something to be said about that. And here's to another 4 years. you reached out to me, Dan from the Rebel Gaming Club, because obviously there's been connections there. We've been on your channel, you've been on our channel, so it's gone both ways. And you asked me to tell you about my favorite thrifting find over the years. And it might be one that I just found last week. And what we found was the Tumbridge Trilogy. This is a local Vermont trilogy movie set. There's 3 movies that were all produced in the mid to late 90s from my area that I grew up in Vermont. So they're near and dear to me, and they're very charming. And what's so special about this is this box set's long out of print. It's a fairly tough box set to find. And what I love about this is that you guys, SeptumSin and Jake, you guys went out of your way to actually purchase this box set off of eBay and to watch these films and actually humor me and do a sit-down breakdown of this whole trilogy months and months back. So that meant the world to me, to have some friends out there that would trust me in saying these movies were good. Because trust me, most people don't want to watch the Tumbridge Trilogy, because if you didn't grow up in Vermont, maybe you don't give a shit. I understand that. But these really are wonderful films. And the fact that you guys went on the journey with me to watch these films, it meant a lot. And it still means a lot to me, because I finally had someone to talk to about these things. So I paid $1 for this last week. And the timing was perfect. It just seemed to line up with your 200th episode and reaching out to the Rebel Gaming Club and being like, hey, you want to be part of this episode? And I said, yes, I do. Yes, I do. So, guys, congratulations on that achievement. And like, here's to many more years on the YouTubes and sharing the passion that you guys have for collecting and for films and for proper good art. All right, guys.
Wow. Well, that was Dan from the Rebel Gaming Club.
Mm-hmm.
The Rebel Gaming Club have been an ally for us, a good friend of the channel for a while. Matter of fact, introduced us to a couple of cool people, including Dan, and he is one of the lead authors of our theme song, which is still awesome to this day. So, thanks, Dan. It's great seeing you.
Yep, and thanks for the tribute. It was quite nice.
So, let's talk about something more personal for me, which was, Dave from Inside Movies Galore, which you may be hearing from a little bit later, hooked me up with this individual called Evan Jacobs. And I'm like, Death Toilet sounds like a movie series I would watch. So I went in, and he said, well, I might be able to get you in with him to get you free access to some of his movies to review. And I'm like, okay, well, if you can get it. And he contacted me and said, yeah, I can give you a month or two for free of my Vimeo, which is, $2 a month. So, And he was surprised because I went through his entire catalog in 1 month. I think it was in December when I did that. And I watched all of them, and I reviewed each and every one. To this day, when one comes out, I do it. It's called the Anhedenia project, which you can check out. I've got the full playlist. And it covers every single release, including his little web series that he did. But my absolute favorite film of his is Schusterman Levine, A Boxing Fable. And I ended up getting this old copy that was by a library. And by the way, you know what's funny is that on episode 100, I showed this as a pickup. Because you were talking about like how I stole it from the library.
Yeah.
But this was a library copy, which was really cool to have. And, it's kind of, you can see he put a little bit more work into this one. And I just liked having this. This feels like one of the most official copies that I have of one of his films. there's another one, like his first 3 DV films were released by another company, and those also feel kind of official. But he put out another one, and this one has an even more special meaning for me. We did a review of it on Inside Movies Galore, and but he put out this re-release of it, which comes with a documentary attached. I need to watch the documentary, I'll admit. And he actually wrote me a note on here, which you can't kind of see, and then he wrote on the disc, because he hooked me up with a copy for myself to look through, but also one for my father, because my father's a boxing fan, and he's a big boxing fan. And my father, of course, passed this year, and my father introduced me to a lot of the films that I like today, for better or for worse. And this was the last film that we watched together, even during a time where he wasn't able to keep his mind together for a full film. We did it in 2 parts, and we did complete it. He did understand what was going on. So this is going to mean a lot more to me in a lot of ways. This was the disc that was sent to him. Let's see here, where he's like, to Septum's dad, I really hope you like this. Best. I was just looking at AF5. And then, of course, he wrote me a letter. He's like, here are the DVDs. I hope your father and whoever else gets them and enjoys them. And a lot of them were to distribute, to try and help him get there. And I distributed them to different people so that they could also enjoy this fun film. So, in any case, that's probably the most personal pickup I can think of.
Now, I have to admit, that's my favorite film I've seen by him, but at this point, that's out of, I think, 6 films, and I think 3 of them were Death Toilet films. So,
well, you should definitely see Walking Between Raindrops, The Toll Collector, and there was another one. All those first 3 that he did, also very cool, kind of had a Woody Allen / Kevin Smith vibe to them. So I think you would like them.
I believe we paired that with a Woody Allen film when
the one I think that he looked at, and actually I talked with him, and it did was one of the major inspirations. I think Take the Money and Run.
All right. So again, keeping with my theme of firsts, I did not necessarily resist the change over to DVD. It was more of I didn't have a DVD player right away. And I'm pretty sure I started getting DVDs before I had a player, but it wasn't a lot. Like I probably had a dozen or so. I mean, I wasn't trying to get a whole bunch of, but I really can't remember how that lined up. But I do know very distinctly what I got out of the gate. And I very specifically went for 2 movies that meant a lot to me at the time. One of which meant a lot to me partly for sentimental reasons, but I also was deeply, deeply critical of it, and it disappointed me. And the other one meant a lot to me because at the time I thought it was like the greatest film ever, and it's still, to this day, one that I rank rather highly. So the first 2 DVDs that I ever had that kicked off my insane collection were X-Men and American Beauty. So two of your favorites, actually. So X-Men, of course, we talked at the start of this video about the importance of comics for me. We both were critical of this because it made a lot of changes to the comics. Some of them we felt very unnecessary. As I said a few moments ago, though, I'm not sure the world was ready for a full-on comics faithful treatment. But they didn't need to make as many changes as they did. But some of them were very intentional, and some of them were serendipitous. I think most people would agree Hugh Jackman was a fine Wolverine.
Yes.
But he was not the first choice. I think it was, Doug Ray Scott that was ready to play the role and got injured and had to be replaced. Of course, everyone said, of course Patrick Stewart's playing Xavier.
Well, yeah.
But it was a good movie. It could have been better, but it was good. And then, of course, American Beauty. If we do get to do what I want to do and do like some old movies or whatever, and we do our with our categories, this without question would be my pick for best poster art. That is one of the best posters of any movie ever. It is
Dual Vibrator's better.
it is the movie was a little overhyped at the time. I fully bought the hype, and I still think it's a damn fine film, but I haven't seen it since the whole thing happened with Kevin Spacey. I need to sit down and watch it and see how that changes my opinion of the film.
I've watched that film too many freaking times.
But this is one that actually, an interesting thing about these is that these were early in the days of DVD, and they both have really good special features.
Well, that was the selling point
I mean,
of DVD.
yeah, they got away from that pretty quickly.
I was going to say, it's actually kind of moved away from that in recent years.
They kind of, they started hot and heavy now that you mention it, and then they moved away from that because you couldn't really do special features all that well with VHS. But at any rate, these two will always have a special spot as the ones that started my DVD collection. Even when this one I'm thinking about getting that triple pack that came out. I'm still going to keep this copy. This one, I still think eventually I will have American Beauty somehow in the Criterion collection. I kind of doubt they'll do a standalone, but they could do a collection that were like a
Kevin Spacey collection.
No, probably more like a Sam Mendes collection or something like that, you know, or like a suburban dystopia collection. I could see them doing that, you know. But
well, I have one set of proof that tells me that yes, and a comics accurate X-Men movie would have been successful back then. That. Because this was insanely popular.
But that was a TV show, and a Saturday morning cartoon, no less.
Yes.
Movie executives would not have thought that counted. They are stupid, but they would not have thought that counted.
Which is sad, because they did the last couple of seasons were pretty raunchy, but they did a fairly good... Well,
I must have missed something.
Okay. Well, they weren't as well done as they should have been, but
it started off strong.
It started off strong,
and you got to say that theme song is epic. Yes. That is
I look at this. Theme. If you grew up when we did, you probably would hear this song in your head. But let's hear from somebody else.
Greetings, SeptumSin versus the world. Congratulations on 200 pickups. As you can see, I am in the middle of recording Oztober, but I thought I'd take a few minutes to congratulate you and to talk about some pickups that I'm particularly proud of. I wasn't really sure where to begin because I collect a lot of different kinds of things, and, you see Oz stuff in the background here, but that's not entirely representative of what all I like to collect. But where to start? I could talk about a whole mess of things. I could talk about some works that I am a part of, For We Are Many from Hex Media, or I could talk about Movie Hoarders from VHS to DVD and Beyond, a documentary that I am in. I could talk about those as shameless self-promotion. I could talk about some out-of-print stuff that I have, like Dogma on Blu-ray, which, this is the Canadian version specifically. Could talk about that. Could talk about some of my UK exclusives, such as the Aero Academy release of Network. Says MGM on the side there, which you can't find this edition in the US. Could talk about that. Could talk about some of my controversial classics, which these are some that I'm particularly proud of, such as Caligula, starring Malcolm McDowell, also from Arrow, from the UK. Could talk about Sallow, the Pier Paolo Pasolini classic. Could talk about Serbian film, the fully uncut version in the U.S., finally on Blu-ray. Could talk about Clown House from everyone's favorite child babysitter, Victor Salva. Could talk about Happiness from Todd Solondz, a film that needs a Blu-ray release but probably won't get one. What else could I talk about? Could talk about some of my bootlegs, which I don't have a whole lot of, but, you gotta have the Star Wars despecialized trilogy in your collection, so that way you can, celebrate the Star Wars that we knew and loved growing up, as well as some of its not-so-great chapters. What else could I talk about? I could talk about some of my autograph pieces, such as Romeo and Juliet, signed by Lloyd Kaufman and James Gunn, who just did The Suicide Squad, and it was awesome. Or perhaps a Tusk, autographed by Kevin Smith. Could talk about that, but I think I'm going to go with a few bigger ticket items, such as my Second Sight Blu-ray of Dawn of the Dead, which is massive and was not cheap. Could talk about that. Or I could talk about my Arrow Zavvi exclusive bust of Pinhead, which comes with the first 3 Hellraiser films. He'll tear your soul apart if you don't give him a positive review, right? Or I could talk about probably my pride and joy, which is my Power Rangers Complete series, which is autographed by Alpha 5, Lord Zed, rest in peace, Jason the Red Ranger, Zach the Black Ranger, Billy the Blue Ranger, and Jason the Green/White Ranger. Go! I need some Yellow Ranger action, I need some Pink Ranger action, and I need the other Black and Red Rangers as well. But, yeah, I could talk about those things, so, well, I guess I talked about multiple things, so anyway, congratulations on 200 pickups, you guys are awesome, keep it up.
I really do appreciate things, Dane, but Tommy was the Green Ranger, not Jason. But you recognize that, and so you have me to thank for adding in the little doll as we went forward. And great stuff, though. I mean, I was a little bit old by the time Power Rangers came about. You were about the right age for it, I think.
I did enjoy some Power Rangers, yes. But I think by the time the movie came out, I was getting a little...
So I do have some Animu. And Sentai has put together some amazing box sets. And I've shown these off kind of separately, but Food Wars, they put out some of the coolest looking box sets out there. I mean, this is embossed, and they made them into these bento boxes. That when you open them up, they actually are bento boxes with your little pen.
But with swag instead of bento.
Yeah, you got like a little pen for her. A little, again, another big pen. And of course, a pen for your main character. You got some chopsticks. They're actually pretty cool looking chopsticks. I will never use them, but, you know, they are pretty cool ones. And, yeah, they have them there. And you've got this flag, which I am not taking apart. Because I'll never put it back together again. And then, as you can see, this does not lift out like you would think it would. Instead, this opens up and reveals the films. Well, not film, but you know, the movies.
Yeah, well, the series.
And you've got a booklet in here. Hardcover booklet, by the way, which has your episode guide.
You know, though, with the thematic sense that they're going with here and that they typically go with, I am deeply shocked that is called a summary booklet and not a cookbook or a recipe book or something like that.
But, you know, this is pretty cool stuff here. I have watched this copy. I have not watched my copy. Actually, I don't know if I've watched my copy of season.
Don't forget the book.
Oh, yeah. I love how they have that little one that opens up. It's almost like a secret compartment in there.
Exactly.
Because in a bento box,
that's where you had the good stuff.
You would actually lift up this compartment. There'd be another one below it. But still pretty cool.
No, see, that's the way you would do it. You do a bento box that's immobile, and then you have the secret compartment for your contraband, you know?
So this here
for the
is,
edibles.
Of course, the second season one. A little bit more plain. But, you know, again, or at least plain at first. Again, you have your stuff inside. You got an ashtray this time. And you got that, which I think is pretty cool. You've got the little blade that they use for the Italian cooking there. But this one actually has a pretty cool feature as well. They all have pretty cool features. So this one opens up like this and reveals your booklet, which is not hardcover this time. It's a bit cheaper, but has your Blu-rays underneath it. Now I'm wanting to say, because you can see this one's, they cheaped out a little bit on this one. It's the one you don't have, I believe.
Yeah, well, I don't have, I only have the first one.
Okay, so I did watch this one. I know that because it's actually not, it's not wrapped up.
Right.
But, which is pretty cool to see there. So that's season 2. Now, then there's season 3. Now, they have released the 4th plate, but they have not done a premium set. I'm starting to think they're not going to. Which is sad, because there's only 2 more seasons left in the show. There's only 4 and 5. But, I mean, look at that. That is beautiful artwork.
Yeah, it is.
And the first ones I got dirt cheap.
Yeah, you looked at on the second one.
You know, and this one has like art books. I'm not going to pull it up because it's a bit too much. So I guess I did watch all of these, but it's pretty cool to see them in there. Let me see if I can... Okay, I can put this back like this. And unlike a lot of these box sets, you can open these and close them without doing a ton of damage. These actually open up, these sides do, to reveal extra swag, which is kind of cool. They redid the hardcover book for this, but it is pretty freaking awesome. And I'm hoping that they decide to go for a premium for plate 4 and 5, but because plate 4 and 5 didn't do as well, it may be that I'll just have to go with the standard releases. But unlike these, I don't have to worry about the standard releases going out of print anytime soon. The other, I'll note that they're starting to go out of print when I see season 1 and 2 and 3 starting to go out of print, and I'll probably end up saying, okay, those are going out of print. Gotta go land it. So
you say that, and then they'll end up having season 1 for 5 years after they run out of 4.
Yeah, but I need to get 4 and 5 will probably be out this year. So.
Of course, sometimes they just take a while. I'm still waiting and wait and see to see if they're going to do season 3 of Chihaya Furu. I hope they do in the premium, you know. So, next up, naturally, we go to Blu-ray. And I actually was a skeptic of Blu-ray at first. I was not an easy sell. And at first, I was very much like, okay, it has to be something that really... I want it to look awesome on Blu. You know, I want it to look, and then I modified that to sound awesome. Yeah. But then I was like, eventually I was like, screw it, I save space. Now, part of the reason I was also a skeptic was Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, because they did a piss poor job of converting that one to Blu-ray. And there were several early on where they did a piss poor job of converting. Yeah. And so it made us a little gun shy. But there were several that I ended up getting on DVD that I almost immediately regretted not just going for the Blu-ray. I think the one that really kind of got, my dad got a copy of Ratatouille on Blu-ray, and I was like, holy crap, this is gorgeous. So it kind of helped. But anyway, I decided to go with a reprise of sorts, a slight return. So we had the critically acclaimed movie that I just really, really, really loved, and the comic book movie that I liked that had a not entirely glowing reception. I went with the same thing for Blu-ray. So I started my Blu-ray collection with Spike Jonze's take on the classic Where the Wild Things Are, and it's somewhat less than ecstatically received, but entertaining comic book genre, a film based on Will Eisner's The Spirit.
I feel like it's an underrated film.
I think they both are a little bit underrated. But anyway, this one, of course, is based on the book by Maurice Sendak, and the book takes 2 minutes for an adult to read. So it's not, obviously they added a lot. We actually had a running joke at the time about the Peter Jackson cut of this was probably, like 5 hours long or whatever. But I really liked the movie. I thought it was really good. I like Jones as a director. I'm fascinated by what he often does. Where the Wild Things Are was one of the picture books we grew up with, so there was a lot of sentimental value. And I could have been one of the haters who said, no, it's not like the book. And I'm like, well, if it was like the book, it would have been a short film about 5 minutes long.
See, I never read the book. I only knew of it from the images.
But it's a good movie. I enjoyed that. And then The Spirit, it says proudly on the cover, from the creator of Sin City and 300. It's actually directed by Frank Miller. I think it was his first, maybe only standalone film as a director. I'm not really sure. It has a fascinating cast. You got Eva Mendes,
like
Sarah Paulson, Scarlett Johansson, Samuel L. Jackson. Samuel L. Jackson is you wouldn't know it, but he has a huge comic book filmography, and he was an intriguing character in this one.
He was very energetic in that one.
He was very energetic. I liked him in this one. But this one, much like 300 and Sin City, the film does have some stunning visuals, absolutely stunning visuals. And both of these were poster children for what I wanted in a Blu-ray film. Like, absolutely films that I would happily, get in Blu-ray. And, the rest is history, as they say.
Well, but you forgot the biggest star of all, the cat.
Oh, I don't know how I forget. It was Arthur, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Arthur the cat is one of the biggest stars in Hollywood history. He should be front and center every Oscars, Just absolutely. But yeah, that cat was awesome. Which actually, I'm glad you reminded me of that, because my cat's name is Spirit. I need to sit down and watch this with him sometime and see what he thinks.
And now for something completely different.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is David Streggy. I am one of the founding fathers of Inside Movies Galore, and I would like to put out there a congratulations to my co-conspirator and criminal of the YouTube channel, SeptumSin versus the World. He has been a very good friend to me, and they have now finally reached their 200th pickup. So please give a round of applause. Yay! And I guess I'd like to show you one of my favorite pickups. It's probably not one that you would have thought from me because my favorite film is Killer Clowns from Outer Space. But I have right here my copy of Night of the Demons, which this is a pretty cool pickup. It's it's a region-free Blu-ray double disc set. And the thing is, this was my first double disc of Blu-ray. I'm not really a fan of Blu-ray, but now that I have Blu-ray players, I'm going to play the fuck out of this. So let me just show you why I like it. Not only does it have like the double disc aptitude of it, I mean, it's got this cool like booklet that tells you all about the film, and it's got this very cool poster that is like double-sided here. So I just want to, it's probably upside down. Yep. But those are original poster art, and I guarantee you the printing of these were probably more than the printing of the discs. So, in any case, that was my pickup I wanted to share with your channel. So hopefully you have another 100 more to add to the YouTube. I know I'm getting up there with my pickups myself. So thank you for being my friend, and thanks for joining with me in my discussions, Septum, and hopefully you can bring out some more cool content for those out there. So check them out.
Well, Dave, that was a pretty cool Arrow pickup right there. And, of course, Dave is with Inside Movies Galore. And for those of you who missed it, Dane is with also with Inside Movies Galore, but also Indie Horror Film Creative, which is a channel that hasn't been as active lately, but you should check it out. It has some pretty cool pickups and some awesome stuff to it. And Dane himself is a film creator. And Dave and Dave has a lot of production stuff, but his Inside Movies Galore and Delusions of Grandeur, of course, we participate in Inside Movies Galore. We do film discussions, usually every Tuesday. And if we do a pre-show, we also participate in Delusions of Grandeur. We've done past discussions with him on it, and I've partaken in a couple of interviews with some directors. Helped interview Brad Sykes of darn it, Camp Blood fame, and the director of Slime City as well. Some fun stuff. But one other member who did not get to participate, which was Dustin, had introduced me, well, actually didn't introduce me, but managed to help connect me to get this, because this was highly out of print. And that is the Halloween box set. This is still fairly well sought after. This is the 15-disc edition that everybody really wants.
It's a cool looking set.
It is a cool looking set. I mean, yeah, it's a little bit beat up on the box around the edges. I love the black cases they use for the... But it's actually still, for the fact it's a little bit beat up, I got it for an amazing price thanks to him. And the 4Ks are kind of lowering the value of this one, but I don't need them in 4K. I'm good with what I've got. These are cool enough. But of course, it has a book. It does not have the most recent film, but well,
I was just thinking, this is Blu-ray.
Yes.
They'll probably want to do a 4K re-release, and if they include the newer film,
yes,
I might actually go for that.
Well, I mean, they're going to have another release soon this fall. Actually, this October, I think, is the next movie. So we'll see how that goes.
Right.
But of course, we have Halloween. We got part 2, which was supposed to be the end of Michael Myers. And by the way, each one of these is loaded with special features, as Shop Factories like to do. And this one here is part 3, because they were originally going to make Halloween into an anthology series. that didn't work out very well. I like this. It was one of my favorite ones, and sadly, it's most people's not. They were like, "Where's Michael Myers? We want more Michael Myers." Screw you. We don't need more Michael Myers. We had 2 whole movies of Michael Myers. Thank you very much. But unfortunately, the studios heard that and they were like, we gotta give him more Michael Myers. So Season of the Witch was the last of their original concept. Then they bring him back, and tell you the truth, it really was never the same after they brought him back. It was just kind of, a lot of these kind of got boring. Between 4 and then 5, they tried to do this child thing where he was connected to the sister because they had some sort of psychological connection, psychic connection. And then they did this curse with this weird cult thing going on, and it was kind of stupid. And they knew that, so they decided to drop it. And then there was H2O, which brought back Jamie Lee Curtis again, and kind of finished her tale in the series.
Or so we thought.
And then one of my favorites of the more recent films, which is Resurrection, which, I mean, God, what was his name? Busta Rhymes, Tyra Banks, Katie Sackhoff, and Bianca Kajilik. And this, I don't know, I like this one. I found it fun. It was reality TV gone wrong. And then Rob Zombie remade
dear God.
the series. I really liked this one. I thought it was a good remake. It felt like more modern horror. It didn't move as slow, and it was still quite fun. And then this one, I agree with Dane. I actually do like this one, but it is a freaking drug trip of a film. It really is. It doesn't feel like a Rob Zombie film. It's not a lot of gore. It's just kind of psychedelic, really. But I also wanted to show this off because this is something similar in the vein, and it's still in print. Just to give you guys a thought, this is Friday the 13th box set, which I love the artwork on this. My hope is that they do a Nightmare on Elm Street one next, which would be a kind of cool way of doing it. This one is very much in print, by the way.
And this one we spent 2 months of going over with several members of
every film.
Yes.
And this one is complete now because at first it had some flaws in some of the movies, but they finally sent me my replacement discs, so all of it is perfect. There's a bonus disc with extra bonusy features. I'm going backwards. The remake. I thought the remake was actually pretty good.
It wasn't bad, no.
The Freddy vs. Jason, which was just fun. I liked this one. You liked Freddy vs. Jason.
I kind of did, yeah. I didn't. Very few of these I straight disliked. A few of them I was like, meh.
And Jason X, which was the last of the...
That was one I was kind of meh.
Gosh, what was his name? Everybody, these horror people are going to be mad with me for not getting it, but it was the last of the of this Jason in the series. God, what was his name?
Kane Hodder?
Yes, the last Kane Hodder Jason appearance. I like.
Sad that I remember that over you.
And this is the one that everybody hates. I didn't hate it that much. And of course, it's one of the discs that got screwed up, which is why they re-released. I actually like this cover. That is a cool cover because the rest of the covers kind of follow the same thing. And of course, Jason Takes Manhattan, which they never did do the one Jason Comes to Town.
Yeah, I know.
Then the New Blood, which a lot of people love the New Blood. And most people feel like the series only started getting good at part 6.
Disney's been dragging their feet on that High School Musical crossover. They really...
And then there's A New Beginning, which is my favorite, really, in the series overall, because, I don't know, I just like the aspect of it. Of the kind of, like, he's possessing people. I thought that they should have run with that and then had Tommy be the next Jason, which is where they were going with it, but they decided not to. Then, of course, the final chapter, Corey Feldman in that one, 3D. Part 2, which was the first actual appearance of Jason as like full-grown Jason, which I didn't know when I first started the series, and then a classic, which is probably my second favorite, which is the first one. So, really cool sets, really awesome. If you haven't gotten them, you should, especially this one, because this one's in print and you can get it relatively cheaply. You can get it for about $100, which is not bad considering what you're getting. And if you like this sort of thing. And eventually it is going to go out of print. And when it does, it'll probably be a lot like this.
I will say straight up, if I ever see that offered for less than $50, I will get it. We'll see. In good shape. But I agree with you. They really need to have a Freddy one, because it's like they're like the triumvirate, the big ones. But anyway, a slightly lesser known horror icon, of course, is Wreck-It Ralph. I'm moving one step further in my firsts. I have presented these on this channel, so I'll keep it brief. But my first HD 4K are Wreck-It Ralph and Ralph Breaks the Internet.
Pretty cool.
I got these off of Disney Movie Club. I actually still have not seen this movie at all. I've not watched either of these copies. One day I'll get around to them, but
get a 4K player.
I really do. Well, yeah, but even on Blu-ray they should look decent. But I love this one. It was a really fun movie. It was, I thought, a little bit underrated. I was really hoping Sugar Rush would be up for original song, but Disney didn't even submit it to qualify. I love the fact that Akiba 48 was on there, but these are good and not a bad way to start with HD.
Good films.
What's up, Foo?
Wreck-It Ralph actually is a good one to show that. It was one of the ones that showed that, yes, Disney is not necessarily a one-off. Of course, they really and truly, Pixar was great, Disney was meh for a while. But then after they, after they kind of assimilated each other, after Disney assimilated Pixar, a lot of their films looked much better, and I'd say around Tangled, they really started getting good.
Well, they started getting good for a bit, but I think their first one in this vein was Bolt. And even Bolt was pretty decent. But they were trying, with this one in Tangled, they came close. With Zootopia and Moana, they finally cracked the code of... I think Zootopia was the first Pixar film made by Disney. But, they were trying for a long time. They tried. Yeah. This was an attempt at Pixar, no doubt about it. But
well, I guess onward to the next guest.
Indeed.
I wonder who it's going to be.
Hey, SeptumSin versus the world. This is Forrest. Just messaging you to congratulate you on your 200th video. That's a hell of an accomplishment, and I'm very happy for you. I wanted to talk to you about my favorite movie pickup, Troma's The Toxic Avenger. I got it about I got it about almost 20 years ago. I had used some Christmas money to buy this for media play, and for me it's probably my favorite because, first of all, I've got it autographed by writer-director Lloyd Kaufman, and also it's also The Toxic Avenger. It's one of my it's probably my second favorite movie of all time, and I also for me it's one of those movies that made me want to make. It's one of those movies that made me want to make movies. Listening to the commentary, I really enjoyed listening to the commentary. Also, it comes with audio commentary from Lloyd Kaufman, which I really enjoyed, where he talks about the making of this movie, and I found it very informative in what goes into making an independent film. Also, it's also between the commentary and the special features, and also just sitting and watching the movie itself. I definitely think it's any aspiring filmmaker, especially anyone who wants to make special effects driven movies or very special effects driven horror, should watch it. Plus, I also admire its efforts into pushing the limits of pushing the limits of good taste. It's blending of genres: the superhero movie, horror, the monster. It's a superhero movie. It's a monster movie. A little bit of romance and slapstick comedy, and also political satire. There's just so much I love about. It, and about this DVD that I've held on to it for as long as I have. That's it. That's it. Congratulations, congratulations.
Wow, that was a very interesting presentation there. So you want to go ahead and subscribe to Forrest Bennett's channel. He is a great producer. Matter of fact, he has produced a film called Camp Murder that is going to be covered here. I'm so nervous here. 200 episodes. Gotta kill somebody. Oh wait, I got a pickup. Alright, so they left out obviously the best films of the bunch, which are my films. And the first one is this here Ginger Dead Man and Ginger Dead Man, the Passion of the Crust. As you can see here, right here, a double feature. Save yourself some room, because some people, they collect too much crap. They could just have Ginger Dead Man movies. That would be all they needed. Just those. And let's see here. Oh, yes. And one that was a little bit more embarrassing for me, because I was using my disco moves at the time, which is, here we go, the third one, Saturday Night Cleaver, which is a great film. Personally, just forget about my disco. I'm kind of ashamed of that. So do you have anything to show off, Evie?
Of course.
There's a cat. Maybe that'll be for eating later. Oh, she got you in there. The Evil Bong stash set. That also has me in it. Again, a slightly embarrassing phase in my career after Ginger Dead Man versus Evil Bong, because I just spin it high and looking for chicks to dig on. But still, those first three films they kicked ass, really. Show them a little. It's like I got a Charles Band autograph on there. That's awesome. Yep. And inside, be careful, they sent that thing. I had to kill the person who did it. And then when I asked them to replace it, they said, "You killed our person." I can't believe that. But you can see it's got Evie's face on it, and all of those Evil Bong movies, all the way through 777, which, by the way, I still got the tux from. I'm all happy about that. So, I think we've done a good job here. So why don't we hear from another place less heard from?
All right.
I think we need to go smoke.
So this is for SeptumSin versus the world. My husband, of course, is SeptumSin, and of course to Kotobukijake. Congratulations, guys, on your 200th episode. That is huge. That is just, I remember when you first started the channel, I'm just so proud of you. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys my favorite pickup ever, and this has a bit of a story behind it. So my favorite pickup is probably a movie that I should not have been watching when I was 13, 14 years old, but it's a movie called Farinelli. It is one of my favorite movies ever. And the reason why it is, it's I'll tell you right now what it's about. It's an Italian drama, and it's about the true story of an Italian castrato by the name of Farinelli, which was his stage name. In case you wonder what a castrato is an opera singer, a male opera singer that was castrated before puberty in order to maintain his soprano-like singing voice. Farinelli was rumored he was the rock star of his day, basically. Women threw themselves at him, and because he was castrated, he couldn't actually do nothing with them. So, of course, the kind of dramatized version in the film is that, his brother was his composer. So he would seduce the women and then tee them up for his brother, who would swoop in and finish the deed. Ooh, that's all I gotta say. And there, of course, was a rivalry between his brother and Handel, the composer, who wanted Farinelli to sing his stuff. But I remember when I first saw the trailer for this film, I was 13, I think. And, sorry, it's a loud appliance in the room. I fell in love with the film, and I spent a number of years trying to find this movie. Now, in the 90s, this movie came out in 1994. It wasn't so easy to find foreign films unless they hit the international market the way that Eat, Drink, Man, Woman did, or Strictly Ballroom, or what's the Muriel's Wedding. Unless it was a film like that got international acclaim, they didn't really get released in our area. You didn't see them. I couldn't go to Blockbuster or Movie Time or Movie Gallery or Hollywood Video and find this film. I had to find it somewhere else. And of course, this is also the days before Amazon, before I was using Amazon, really. And what's funny is that this movie, it actually did get nominated for an Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film and Golden Globe Award for Best Foreign Language Film. Actually, no, it won the Golden Globe for Best Foreign Language Film. I'm stupid. The day I finally found this movie, of all places, was 2001. I'm in New Orleans with my parents and my cousin, and I wanted to go to the Virgin Megastore that was down there because they filmed a portion of Dracula 2000 in that store. Yeah. And because it was a huge store, and I was like, I just need to see it. I need to see it. So we go in. Place was, I don't know if you guys remember the Virgin Megastores. They were ginormous. So walk in, I'm in awe. So DVDs were fairly new. I was starting my DVD collecting journey at that time. And I said, well, I'm going to go to the movie section and see what they have. And anytime I was ever somewhere that sold DVDs at that point, or even before DVDs, anywhere that sold VHSs, I always looked for this film. And I was like, I'll have no luck. So I'm in the foreign section, which was huge, which was a very big section. I didn't think it would be a big section. So I'm in the foreign section, and I was like, yeah, whatever. So I'm sorting through the different ones, and I see a lot of the normal things you see in the foreign language films. And I get to the F's, and I'm like, and my cousin's like, what's wrong? I'm like, and she's like, what? I grab it. It was the last copy, and I was like, literally I heard angels singing. I was like, oh my God. So I had to buy it. Fast forward to spring 2002, my roommate left our door unlocked, and someone came in, stole all of my DVDs, because they were in, at that time, I had one of those folio cases, the Trapper Keeper type things. And my collection had grown to maybe 60 DVDs, which was a lot for 2002. And they stole that. They stole my camera. They stole some jewelry. Interestingly enough, the only thing that they stole from my roommate was a textbook. Okay. So I was in tears. First of all, that DVDs were very expensive back then. They were like $25, $30. So I lost all this money on these DVDs, but most importantly, the one I was most upset about losing was Farinelli. And it took me a number of years to find another copy of this movie. And when I finally did, I was like, I'm buying it. Actually, I'm not sure if I bought it or if my husband bought it for me. I can't remember. But either way, now that I have this back again, I'm never letting it go. If it goes missing again, I'm going to be really ticked off. So that's my favorite pickup ever. And of course, again, it's an interesting story of I lost it, then I found it again. So yeah, that's my pickup, guys. Thanks for having me on again for your show. Again, I'm so proud of you guys. And here's to 200 more, 1,000 more. Here's to you gaining more subscribers. And that's pretty much it. And also, by the way, guys, I'm from Kim Creates Stuff here on YouTube as well. But thanks for listening.
So
Bye.
that was my wife, and she is on a channel called Kim Creates Stuff, which has a lot of cool things on it, and is a pretty up and coming channel. It's growing pretty strongly, has some amazing production value, and is doing quite well. Cool. And there's a lot more on the pickups when it comes to kind of crafting type things. But I think you would like that. And she was a pretty big movie collection. She had a big collection too when we first got together. So it's just kind of cool to have that on there. I've yet to see Farinelli.
I have yet to see it myself.
But I had an interesting run-in with this, and this is the Maison Ikoku collection.
Ooh. Talk about your grail items.
This one was one I remember hearing about this being re-released. I was a big fan of the manga, which I do have the entire run of, and the old releases. Which, when he's talking about his, I'll go grab a couple to show off what they look like. But I have that entire run.
Are they currently releasing the hardcover editions, or is that a recent release?
I don't know.
It's either current or recent.
But it's a really good one. It's one of Rumiko Takahashi's best series. For the longest time, I had bootlegs because I couldn't get the real ones. And when these released, a friend of ours, and I'll talk about this as I show these off, because there's 8 volumes. A friend of ours, Joe, who ran One-Eyed Jacks, or probably still runs it, which is the gaming place we used to game at, had talked about these releases, and he had said to us, I don't know if you were with us at the time, but he had said to us, yeah, after the first 3, you should be ordering them direct as they come out. And I said, well, why is that? And he said, because they're not supporting wide release after the 3rd or 4th set. And I was just like, okay, whatever. Bad decision. Because once you get past the first 4, they start to get rather scant. I think you can still buy the first couple of volumes.
4's not even that common.
I think you can buy at least the first 3 volumes relatively cheaply.
Volume 1 30. Is cheap.
And it's a good series. And this is one of the few stories of hers that has a completion. So it's actually worthwhile collecting it. I have the wraparounds for some of these, but not all of them. I want to say I bought the first couple. I mean, actually, I remember buying the first set for myself. And then I ran into this eBay auction. And I've had this happen to me also, where no one is bidding. So you end up being one of the few bidders on it. So I ended up getting this. I don't remember for what price, but I can tell you that it was less than 400. I think it was like 200 or something. I can't remember. It wasn't anywhere close to 1,000.
Well, no, I know it wasn't that.
I know it wasn't over 400. I know what I paid for the other one that I'm going to show. I remember that one. But this one I don't remember. But I know it was I was surprised by how cheaply I got it. And it included all of the volumes. And I was like so psyched. And I ended up giving him the first volume because I had that spare for the first volume thanks to that. And started you into collecting the anime. I guess it's another good reason why we moved those things, because that would have knocked them off again. But that, I think you would have, yeah, you would have definitely, well, you would have collected it anyway, I think, eventually. And I helped you finish it off too. I gifted you the 8th.
Yeah, I know.
So, Now we're getting into starting to get into scant territory here. But I remember...
Well, it's been going up and down for years. 4 has been quite uncommon.
This is 5.
There are times... Well, I was going to say, there have been times where 5 and 6 have been easier to get than 4. But all 3 of them have been anywhere from rare to very rare. Yeah. And it just kind of depends on when you're looking.
That's 6.
Yeah.
Again, it's a very fun series. Mm-hmm. It's a very cool slice of life romance. It's about this young guy who is kind of like he graduated high school. He's been flunking his entrance exams, so he's kind of what they call a Ronin. He's just not really. He's just there, and he's staying at this place called Maison Ikoku. He's about to leave when this landlord. This new landlord comes in and he falls head over heels for her and ends up staying. Unfortunately for him, the other roommates in the housing are not so nice people.
No.
Now,
he is their plaything.
These are the 2 rare ones. 7 is not as rare as 8, but 7 is still... It can still be up there if you're not... If you're sleeping on it. Mm-hmm. If you do find this ever as a whole, or even if you find parts 7 or 8 for fairly cheap, grab them. Matter of fact, if you find any parts of this fairly cheap, grab them, except for 1. 1 you can get still for around 30, but anything else here, you can find them cheap, get them. Especially
if you find 7 or 8 for 30, you can grab it and brag about it.
This is the grail item for most. I remember this was your grail item for the longest time, and you were tracking this down piecemeal. You had a much harder time of it than I did, but you did it. You tracked them down one at a time until we got to the end. And it is cool. I've watched the series, I think, 3 times over.
Pretty sure that's how many times I've seen it.
And this, I've seen it once in the sub, and then the other 2 times, I'll admit, were in the English. So it is kind of a cool thing. We kind of give away the ending.
Yeah, a little bit.
But still,
spoiler alert.
It is probably one of the series that sits in the collection and has maintained status as to one of the most loved series for me.
It is a classic, true classic.
So I will pass it on.
So actually, it's kind of interesting that we're following up. Kim's talk about like a special find of her ultimate grail item. You show like a grail item, and then this one I decided to show off one of my favorite finds. Like this is probably one of my best thrifting moments. And we can thank Movie Stop. May they rest in peace. They gave us some great stuff. As I alluded to with the earlier presentation of Sailor Moon, I thought about bringing my Pioneer copy of R, because that was an incredible thrifting find. I got that for like $4.50 at Movie Stop when it was selling for 60, 70, probably more, $80. I think it's come down in price because it's so easy to get the Viz Blu-ray, but still, that original Pioneer release still goes for a hefty bit. This, though, doesn't really have a upgraded equivalent. I'm not even sure that there is a way to upgrade this one effectively because it's such a cool set. But we've talked about it, but I don't think I've actually presented it on the channel. And that is my collector's edition of the Abbott and Costello show, the complete series. I think it was a 2-season series that's got pretty decent bit of bonus features there. It's got some short films and whatever. And it's like if you open it up, it's kind of a flimsy box, which is unfortunate, but it still looks cool. But it's like you open it up and you got all these little slip cases inside that have all the discs on them, and it comes with a little book as well. I mean, this is a nice set. Like I said, it's a little flimsy, but I've seen a lot worse. You know, compare this to like your typical Aniplex set or whatever. You know, it's really quite nice. And, you know, I'm sure most people are at least somewhat aware of Abbott and Costello. I actually did not see the show at all growing up, but I grew up with some of their movies. Like Abbott and Costello Meet the Invisible Man, and Abbott and Costello, Africa Screams, you know, the Jack and the Beanstalk. You know, and it's kind of a, you know, you got Bud Abbott, who's the straight arrow, you know, sort of like technically the brains of the outfit, although he sometimes shows himself to be a bit goofy. And Lou Costello, just basically, he was the goofball, you know, the physical humor kind of, you know, you see this pairing again and again, but this was one of the templates, one of the essential templates for that mold. And it's a classic show. It's classic. Some of the movies are classic.
You just need to get that down.
Yeah, he's got this set that I would like to have. It's kind of cool. But what makes this an awesome pickup is not just because it's a really cool set. And it is a really cool set. And I've actually watched this, and it plays well, and it's a fun show. It's not all of the humor has aged. This is almost a century old. Not all of the humor has aged fully, but it is a really fun show regardless.
Turn of the century.
What made this phenomenal is, I mean, you look at this and you're like, what would be the very cheapest you would expect to find a set like this? I would think anything less than $10 is a hella deal. You know what I mean? Like, just on the face of it. And what's more is this set typically sells for well over $50. I'm not sure what it's currently going for, but I know that it typically goes well over $50. And this, I think, if I remember correctly, had a $3 sticker on it. And I think I got it at 20% off or something like that. So less than $3 for that set. So like I said, in terms of like kick-ass thrifting finds, that was just... and it's a nice piece of history too. So that was fun.
That's the one I'm very envious of, that find. Mm-hmm. No, I just thought I would show that off.
Right.
Because that's the last volume. I have all of them. This was the old.
That is the old school.
That's the old school ones.
I think I have the whole series, but I think I have a newer printing than that.
Now, I remember Rumiko Takahashi had said in her interviews about like why her characters never really finish romantically, and she's like, well, if they get together, then that's the end of the story.
Right.
So in her mind, they don't get together until the end. So you know this is the last volume.
Right.
I mean, the cover shows that. And they have the ending. Again, this is slight spoilers. But, so you can see the ending there where she's holding the child there.
Right.
So it's kind of cool. It's actually one of the few manga that my mother read all the way through. And Kim thought the whole like tennis coach with the dog thing was funny.
Oh, the whole thing. One of the best things that was in the anime that was not in the manga was when the dog's name was McEnroe, if I remember correctly, like as the tennis player.
Look at the VHS advertising on the bottom.
One of my favorite parts was when the neighbors took it upon themselves to cure Mintaka of his dog phobia, and went about it in what's probably not a clinically approved manner. But anyway.
Well, with that being said, I guess there's somebody else who might have something to say.
All right. And it's food.
Well, there it is, guys. 200 episodes. That's quite the accomplishment. It's longer than Dragon Ball Z if you cut out all the fucking filler. I did the math and, actually just confirmed it with Google. 167 episodes for Dragon Ball Kai. So you guys beat Toriyama. That's pretty awesome. We don't count most of the other stuff that's came after that. But today, I have a pickup to show you guys because SeptumSin asked us to choose like an especially special pickup that we got in the recent months. I think I got this around Christmas time, maybe Thanksgiving last year, and that is the Zatuichi Criterion collection. This narrowly beat out the Gamera Arrow collection that SeptumSin actually helped me acquire. But this one was a long time coming, and one that I had been praying would go down in price for quite a long time, because it's a seminal collection, I think people would say, for, samurai films. You can't have a samurai collection without having the Zatuichi movies. That'd be like collecting spy movies and not owning the James Bond flicks. It just wouldn't make any sense. It comes nicely packaged in this, sturdy little sort of particle board slip here. Really impressed with that. Inside of that, we have a book with various information about the Zatuichi films. All of it's got this really nice, like, hyper colorful, sort of modern Japanese scroll painting style artwork on it. I don't know the technical terms for any of that, but it's got your standard Criterion info blurbs on each page in there, covering all 25 movies I think are in this set. There's one Zatuichi movie that's not included. That's the one they did in the 80s called just Zatuichi the Blind Swordsman, sometimes known as Zatuichi Darkness is His Ally. And then, of course, in here you just have, all 25 of the movies or whatever, and their little Criterion cardboard slips, which I'm not a huge fan of, but being that they're Blu-ray, not quite as risky or heart-wrenching to pull them out of there each time that you watch them as it would be if they were DVDs. Now, price point was pretty good on this as far as what you get, and I think that it's a good testament to the fact that on a lot of the Criterion stuff, if you just wait long enough, some of it will come back in stock. I think I spent better part of a year complaining that this was out of print, and I guess the complaining paid off, because I eventually got a hold of her. One thing I will say, comparing it to a more recent Criterion set, is that this is really the way to do, the big larger series, and I wish that they had done this in lieu of the Where's Waldo style that they went with on the Godzilla collection. I mean, this is neat for the first 5 minutes after you unbox it. You're like, wow, look at this big old fold out picture of Godzilla right there. And but at the end of the day, they printed out a book and sold us that, and it just happens to have some pages for the DVDs or the Blu-rays, excuse me. And it just doesn't fit on the shelf. So if any Criterion people are listening, if you want to bento box the Godzilla set like the Zatuichi films there and put it out again, I'll buy it again. So, all things considered, though, glad I was able to show that off to you guys today. Highly recommend getting a copy of the Zatuichi set if you ever find, yourself looking at the opportunity to do so. And at the very least, get out there and check out the movies. They tend to repeat themselves after a while, but what series that has more than 4 movies doesn't end up doing that? So here's to it, guys. Happy 200. Viva la collection, as Brandon would say. And that's all we got for you. Cheers.
We can power up too, We have our Saiyan modes. Or Super Saiyan modes, I guess.
Whoop my pants! Good way to cure constipation.
Yes.
So, just because he had said this, I wanted to show the Gamera set.
Yeah.
And
I envy him that set.
This sold out very quickly, and to people who pre-ordered it, they over-ordered the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So many people who they oversold it. So people who pre-ordered this did not get this, but I pre-ordered it first thing, so I was able to get mine. And I know Mo wanted this more than I could ever have wanted it, but I think Gamera is a cool turtle. And he's a friend of the children and all that. But I helped him secure a copy from the UK, and according to him, it was actually region free, which it was even better. But look at this book. Now, you can see how big it is compared to us. This is a huge book. And you can see the artwork. Matt Frank did most of the artwork. I want to say it's Matt Frank. Let me make sure I got that right. Yes. And he was also one that, did that. And you can see a lot of poster art, a lot of things like that. There's Tibby. I was introduced to Gamera. You got like little monster stuff. You got the cross sections. I was introduced to it through Mystery Science Theater, like most people. But I still, to this day, love the Gamera movies, and I had to get this set when I had it. It's not like the Godzilla set, which I also had to get a hold of just because it's there, and I think both of us have that.
Yeah, I do have that one.
And that wasn't too bad. I think 120 something was not bad for what you're getting, for the quality that you're getting here. I mean, the art book is pretty impressive.
You got that for 120?
127.
Wow. It's like barely more than the Godzilla one.
Yeah, I know. It wasn't that bad when you first came out. And of course, this is a comic collection of the Gamera comics, which was also cool. So you got this hardbound issue set. And they are translated into English, so you can read the Gamera comics if you want to read them. I get afraid to open it because I don't want to strain the thing. But I need to actually read it. We get these to use them, but then this is what people are out for, which is the actual Gamera movies. And you got some artwork here. Again, they're in these kind of...
And if you didn't want to spring for this, they did then go and do 2 separate sets of just the films.
And this is all of them.
Yeah.
This is all of them. Every single Gamera set. And then here are some postcards that they kind of hid. So, you know, like that. Very cool set.
It is cool looking artwork.
This is an impressive set. It is a hefty set. And for the price that they were originally charging, again, I think this set's worth probably more than that now. But let's see here. We've got Gamera the Giant Monster, Gamera versus Baragon, Gamera versus Gaios, Gamera versus Virus, Gamera versus Girion, Gamera versus Jigger, Gamera versus Zigra, Gamera Super Monster, Gamera the Guardian of the Universe, Gamera 2 Attack of Legion, Gamera 3 Revenge of Iris, and Gamera the Brave.
You know, Mo put a thought in my mind, though. He referenced the Bond films. If Bond got this treatment, I would jump on that set in a heartbeat.
I need to upgrade to Blu-ray, but the Daniel Craig movies haven't even finished yet.
Right.
The last of the Daniel Craig comes out this year, and if I was to get an upgraded Blu-ray set for Bond, I would want to wait at least until that era ends.
Well, you got a good set as it is.
Because I think they're continuing just with the female Bond after that. So maybe it would be a good end point, because if they're going to do all female or stuff like that from then on, then it would be a good end point where I can bookmark one end. It's like, this is the chauvinist Bond era. And then...
but you see what I'm saying?
And then this is the good Bond era after.
You see what I'm saying, though? Like I love these sets, but they keep doing these sets for, like, the stuff that I would like to get. But
it's the good stuff. The really good stuff.
Right.
So there you go, Mo. Gamera.
Very cool. Or like if they go all out like that when they finally give us those re-releases we really need, preferably upgraded to Blu-ray, of Maison Ikkoku and Urasayatsura, and they do sets like that for those, that would be awesome.
Hitchcock set like that.
Hitchcock, yes. I could see that being... I love my fuzzy set, but that would be even better.
They could include Alfred Hitchcock Presents. That would be kind of cool.
Okay, so that was, I guess, your pickup?
Yep.
Okay. So my next two, my last two, are going to be examples of ones that, kind of like, I guess, you with that Gamera set, I was glad to act when I did. This was one that I actually eyed for a while that never really was cheap, but then it went out of print, and it went really out of print, and it is really hard to get. And I don't think there's a re-release on the horizon. And much like Ikkoku, this is a Viz Media release, and that is the series Nana. You got part 1. And these are such cool looking sets. I really like them. They got Nana part 1, part 2, part 3, and part 4. And we've talked about this one a handful of times, I think, on this channel. It's come up in discussion. It's a series that's based on supposedly a really good manga, one I have not yet read. And honestly, sadly, I have not yet seen the series.
You have these two.
I have and have watched the 2 movies.
Yeah, I figured you could go throw those up there.
They're excellent films. The one Nana, you've got 2 Nanas with the same name, Nana O and Nana K. And I think it's Nana O that's the singer or the key. I think it's O who's the singer. She is played by the same actress in both movies, but they, for whatever reason, recast the other one. But these are solid films, especially the first one. The second one, much less so. But from what I've heard, this is one of the quintessential music lovers anime. And it does have a pretty rockin' soundtrack. I've heard the songs that come off of this. Starless Night is a great song. I really enjoy that. And I've lost my train of thought. But anyway, point of it is that this is a very highly regarded series. I am very happy to have it. I really, really do want to watch it. It's unfortunately kind of lengthy. How many episodes? 47 total? So I don't really see us doing this for our anime anticlimax. If we did, we'd have to split it into 2. Might be worth doing at some point.
Yeah, it might be.
If nothing else, yeah, it is. If nothing else, it is one, like I said, I'm glad I have it. It is hard to find this one. I have looked occasionally just for shits and giggles, and it's hard to find. If you can, more power to you. And maybe Viz did a complimentary release of Honey and Clover, which I still proudly own, and it recently got a re-release. Was it Discotheque that did the re-release?
I can't.
So maybe this one's in the works. We can
it's
hope.
Very possible. So, let's take a look at an anime fan, much like us, with some rare finds.
All right.
Roger. And I was asked by SeptumSin to show my most prized possession in my anime collection. Now, I do tend to collect multiple versions of the titles I like the most, and this one is no exception, since it's my favorite anime as well. So I'm going to start with a couple of versions, and I'll get to the main course, so to say. So what this is the Garden of Sinners. This is from Aniplex. And this particular one was bought from another collector a couple of years ago. This, of course, is complete. I really love the series. The next version is actually the first package I did buy from this set from the Rightstuf. This is the Blu-ray version of the Garden of Sinners. Really nice package. I like the way the package is. Very high quality. It's made up of several movies put together. Now, I'm going to get down to the main course, which is my most prized possession in my anime collection. And what it is the Garden of Sinners limited box art from Japan. This is, of course, the import version. It has all the features that the other two pocket packages has, except it's going to be a bit better of a presentation. I swore I would never open up this box because it's such a prized possession of mine. So I'm not going to open it. What I'm going to do, I'm going to move it over. This is the back of the box. I'm really happy to actually have this in my collection, and I want to thank for everybody that is watching this video. Again, this is my most prized possession, the Garden of Sinners import limited Blu-ray box edition. Thank you all for watching, and have a wonderful day.
Well, that's an anime of a different color.
Mm-hmm.
One of these days, I have to get Garden of Sinners when it comes down in price. So probably never, but
I'd like to see it at least. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like they're not hard to stream. Though, who knows? Maybe if Disney does acquire Sony and they acquire those rights, then maybe they will never get them on streaming again. Who knows? Maybe you'll get the Disney Movie Club and there'll be a bunch of anime on it from Funimation and stuff.
Not likely, but one can hope.
So, my last pickup is a pretty big pickup. It's one that I got the whole thing off of eBay. And I'd seen parts of this flying around, and I wanted this because this is probably one of the grail items, even harder to get all of than Maison Ikoku, because of all the moving parts. And that is Urasayatsura. Now, I remember this quite well. Somebody offered an auction with all of the series, all 50 volumes, plus the OVA, plus the movies, all in their boxes. Yes, they're a little bit torn, but they're cheap boxes. For $475. Now, many of y'all will probably tell me that's way too expensive for a series, and I will tell you, mind your own business. Because
and 50 volumes is less than $10 a volume.
Yeah, so it is worthwhile. So this is, and you probably won't see all the volumes shown like this very often. So this is something rare for y'all. And I have never shown this on the show. I'm pretty sure I've shown the scanning of the boxes, but I've never shown the individual volumes. So this is volume 1 of it, which is probably the most common, easy to find. Which I'll admit, you could actually go from this series to almost anywhere else if you have volume 1, because they do most of the things, and most of them, not all of them, but most of them have these little cards, which are pretty cool, that have the notes of information. And this is about this guy, Ataru, who is a womanizing asshole, and he is chosen to be the champion of Earth. And
we're doomed.
And he doesn't care. He's like, whatever, let the aliens take Earth. But then Shinobu, his girlfriend at the time, says she'll marry him if he ends up defeating the aliens, which he has to take a contest where he has to go after Lum, which is this character here, who is the princess. Of course, Cherry always tells him, Cherry being the priest, and kind of messed up priest himself, ends up talking about how bad thing, because he's got the world's worst luck, but he's also one of the world's most resilient people, and he manages to trick Lum and win. Actually, I think she's the school doctor, wasn't she?
The nurse, and she's also the
priestess.
The priestess niece, whatever, something like that.
But when he does manage to beat Lum, which by doing things how he could do it, and only how he could do it, This is box 2. Introducing one of my least favorite characters, but Rumiko Takahashi was known to be annoyed by small children, so she always made small children extremely annoying. So I guess it makes sense. So, and then he basically was so excited about talking about how he was going to marry Shinobu, and Lum thought that he was proposing to her, and she's like, okay. And that's how we get it. Of course, this is his main rival, and it kind of reminds me of a predecessor to, say, Kuno.
Well, and also Shun Mitaka. One thing with Takahashi is that she didn't really necessarily borrow archetypes too heavily from others, but she cannibalized her own archetypes again and again and again. And yeah, Mitaka definitely borrowed from Mendo.
And there are a lot of...
And Lum was a prototype for Shampoo, I think.
But there's a lot of... basically, it's mostly Monster of the Week in a way, because it's one strange tale after another. This is a series that, if you know the basics of the characters, you can literally throw in almost any episode and be good with it. That's probably the most amazing thing about this series, is that you can see it from most places. So if you do get scattershot and you've got the first volume, you've still got some pretty quality anime, right?
It does cut down on your ability to marathon it a little bit, but, you know.
Yeah, it really is kind of episodic. You really don't want to watch more than a few episodes at a time.
Now, you do want to point out one of the coolest things about these sets is they have the character profiles on the back of each box. Yes. And a lot of them come with liner notes, although not all of them did.
Yeah,
sadly.
and I showed you all these. I mean, just like this one. I mean, liner notes, which you can't see because of the light. There it is. And this is one set I worry about having disc rot for. I mean, I worry about disc rot for any of them, but that's pretty pristine looking. I want to rewatch all this. It's such a bear to get through. It's a lot of freaking...
Now, weird thing is, Volume 12 here has my favorite character, Ryunosuke, on the cover, but she doesn't show up, I think, until the 17th volume. So I don't know why they put her on there so early.
Yeah. Oh, there's her father right there.
And they are a prototype of Ranma and Genma Saotome.
Oh, definitely.
She is also a prototype of Ukyo Kawonji. So, yeah.
There's no doubt that those two were kind of that early prototype.
Right.
And keep in mind, this is one of her earliest works. She was mostly doing horror at the time. This is probably her first comic.
I think that was her first anime.
Oh, this is the cat, one that likes the
Kotatsu cat.
Yeah.
Kotatsu Neko.
And Lum is kind of a interesting character. She's got the jealous woman down, which is used a lot. She also kind of has parts of Akane to her as well.
She is a jealous, ultra-violent, controlling bitch, but Ataru deserves nothing less. And they deserve each other, actually, either one of them could have been horribly abrasive, but together...
it shows how flimsy these boxes are. I mean, these are really cheap boxes. But I like how they do it, like, basically in threes. They color code it. I guess these are by season.
I guess.
I'm not exactly sure what the color coding means. If you know what the color coding means for these, let us know in the comments below. But, I mean, like those first ones are pink. This is purple, which is kind of cool. Rumiko Takahashi also likes to do these kind of cutesy pictures of them. Because you see a lot on the artwork on covers and stuff like that. of them just doing things like she's talking on the phone, looking like cute there, or she is doing her doll of Darling, and it's Darling no matter which language you put it in. This one's only in the Japanese, but yeah, Darling is you hear Darling all the time, and then you know to run. The various ones. It is I do apologize for the number of these, but I figure this is probably a rare time for people to actually get to see all of these covers.
And right around where he's at, this is where it starts getting harder to collect the series. You can get the first 15 volumes pretty much without breaking a sweat, and probably pay no more than $10 per volume.
So pretty much any of the pinkish ones are pretty easy to get.
But then you get into this one, it gets harder. I have most of the first 25 volumes, and I have, I think, maybe 5 of the others, if that.
So I remember you were trying to collect these one volume at a time.
I do have I got lucky and got the OVAs in one fell swoop, and that was the...
You got the box for the OVAs, didn't you?
No, I didn't.
Oh.
But I did get the OVAs, I think it was all 6 of them for like $24, so that was a hella deal.
And you can see how they fit together when you see me scanning them. I've scanned these a lot of times. Again, I don't like handling these boxes that often because of how flimsy they are. Eventually these boxes are going to rot away, but at least these will still be here.
Right.
I mean, they're cool looking boxes, but as expensive and as rare as these are, you would have hoped that Anime Diego would have put out for a little bit better boxes, like maybe some chipboard.
They did slightly better with the You're Under Arrest boxes, but not. Yeah.
I have only one of those boxes.
Right, same here.
But
I do have a portion of the series that you could only get if you ordered the box, basically.
But I mean, I have all the rest of it in singles, and that's the purples. Now we're getting into the more rare.
Yes.
I guess they kind of get. I guess it's sort of like Maison Ikoku that they get rarer as they release.
But there are individual ones that are weird. Like there's one volume, I think it's 33, that is almost as dirt cheap as the rest of the ones in the first 10. It's so easy to get, but most of the others in the 30s are like, not so much.
I mean, here we go. See, we changed colors again. Yeah. It's like it's going harder, harder, hardest. Hardest is the next color change. Which they keep the same color for the last 3 of the boxes, though the last 2 are a little bit easier to get.
Yeah.
Because, it's the movie and the OVA. But that last box of that color, though, for the series is the hardest to get. They make sure they color code it for you. I remember there was wasn't there like an auction for one that was like 50,000 or something like that?
I don't remember if it was that much, but I know there were a lot of them trying to go crazy expensive.
You know what I might do?
Mendo's sister.
Yeah, that was.
She is certifiably insane. I like her.
With the armor running around.
Yeah.
She liked traps, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
She was a Kodachi predecessor.
Yes, but much more likable.
Well, yeah. She wasn't just all evil.
No. Well, she mostly tormented her brother, and he was such a pompous ass it didn't matter that she was tormenting him. She was actually pleasant to Ataru. I think that was one of the funny things about her. She was one of the only females in the series that he had, if I remember correctly, minimal interest in, but she was actually very pleasant. No, he did like her. She was nice to him, I think, to torment her brother. Oh, the principal is one of the great characters, too.
I don't think I showed the box. There's the box.
The principal was on that last one he showed. Yeah.
And you can always tell the sister because you can see the crosses in her eyes. even without the armor.
Yes.
And let's see here. Yep, through 45. We're getting very close to the end. Now I admit, he kind of... Actually, though, Shinobu was also kind of somebody that he deserves because she's freaking violent and jealous, too.
Yeah, she was more the Akane prototype, I think.
Yeah, she was a very much an Akane prototype.
Yes.
But, so... For those of you who like Rumiko Takahashi's work, Inuyasha, there you go.
Yep.
All of those, you would like this series, more than likely. And again, you can watch it in small pieces and do quite well.
Well, and another thing, Inuyasha brings up there was that one character, I can't remember his name in the series, but the Sakurambo Cherry is the Urasayatsura one. In Ranma, he was known as Haposai, the very, very perverted older character.
I was going to say, he's even more perverted in that one.
Yes.
All right, so we are down to the most valuable set.
These are friggin' hard to get. You can't get volume 50 unless you're like super lucky.
So you see one of these, and you know the color coding now that we talked to you about it. If you happen to see this color coding, I'm going to start here because we're going to the most valuable. But you see the color coding on this. See that dark purple. If you see this, and it's a different, it's not a bluish purple, it's kind of a purplish purple. You know this is value. So if you see this actually see any of these volumes, really you should pick them up. But these especially. They kind of did a bubble theme for their covers on this. So 48. Kind of cool, like crowd of them there. And then 49. You could tell they were counting down. And then the final one. This is the rarest one. This is the hardest to get, but does come up from time to time. But it's usually quite expensive. This has a cool Easter egg on it, and I talked about it before, where you find it, and they've been like, we've been printing this for years, and we finally finished it. We finally have the last volume, and they're running around the warehouse, and it's like, we're done, we're free. But they weren't totally free, because it was the OVA. But you can get these volumes pretty easily. I mean, the boxes are harder to get.
It'll cost a pretty penny to get all of these unless you're lucky, which again, I was lucky.
And the OVAs are nice. I mean, again, the animation is better. You can see the animation quality is... you can see the quality is much higher.
Most of these are like 2-episode things.
I mean, but they're worth having. I really enjoyed the OVAs. Again, they still have that kind of one-off quality, but they have a little bit more story to them each time. This one had like the time aspect one too, if I remember correctly. And of course the last one there. But we're almost done. The movie collection.
We're going to get to the one title out of this whole thing that's currently in print here.
There's only one title in this entire collection that's in print.
And that's
obviously this. Now, actually, I've heard that they were going to put
this one's not hard to get for around $10 to $20. I think I got it for 8 or 9.
This one you can get a much better version of. This is the one that everybody likes a lot. It's the most popular of the films, and for some reason, and it's the only one here, by the way, that has a full-on English dub, and it's terrible. It is god-awful.
The dub?
It is god-awful.
Do they have that dub on the Discotheque release or a new one?
I don't know. I haven't seen the Discotheque release.
Discotheque decided to lead off with that one, but we have yet to hear if they're doing any more.
I would love to see them re-release the whole series. I mean, shoot. I wouldn't mind...
I don't remember if I have... I'm missing 1 or 2 of the movies. I can't remember. I think it's 3 and 5.
To tell you the truth, I would not be above selling this entire thing if you could get me a condensed Blu-ray release of all of this. I would not be against it. Even though there is some sentimental value,
take some space off the shelf.
It would definitely take space off the shelf, and I would love to have the better sound quality and the sturdier nature of Blu-ray. So, because that took so long, 19 minutes, why don't we go to one more, and we'll have Jake carry us home at the end.
Okay.
So, we'll see y'all back in a minute.
What's going on, SeptumSin versus the world? Happy 200th episode for you guys right there, man. You guys been going strong for a long time, doing your YouTube hustle. And, man, I just gotta say congratulations, man. I love you guys very much. You know, you guys make some killer content. Always been a supporter of my Wet Movie 1 YouTube channel. And I just gotta say thank you for that. And you asked about showing off like one of my favorite items that I have in my collection, and it just happens to be right over my shoulder right here, and that is my Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory golden ticket, Beckett slabbed, that's autographed by all 5 kids from the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory movie with Gene Wilder, like Charlie Bucket, Violet Beauregard, Mike TV and Veruca Salt and pretty much all the kids from the movie. One of my favorite childhood films of all time. But I just want to say I love you, man. I love you both. Keep rocking in the new world. And yeah, Wet Movie 1 loves you.
Well, that was cool. We had a really high profile guest for our last one, Wet Movie 1. Who is, he's one of the inspirations for this channel. Not the main inspiration, but definitely one of the big ones. His collection is an amazing one. His channel is really cool. You should check it out because he does some pretty awesome pickups and out and abouts. I'm wearing a shirt for the Wet Movie crew, which is a pretty well done shirt. I mean, it's a good shirt there. And of course, you see my Mystery Science Theater hat. I had that made myself when I was in high school. Somebody was doing this, and I was a huge MST3K fan back then. And I said, well, type that on there because I couldn't get any caps with MST3K on it. So that was my reasoning for it. And then I found it, and I'm like, well, why not make this a part of my online persona for SeptumSin?
Cool.
So, with that being said, carry us home with one more pickup.
All right. Well, I can show off a fun shirt too. But anyway, in contrast to his, let me go ahead and say, I guess, if we are carrying it home, I'll go ahead and give my own thanks to everyone who participated in this and helped us celebrate, and it was kind of awesome. Cool. Yes. I have something that's much, much shorter and takes up much less space than the last one he showed off. In fact, this takes up the least space of probably any one, except for the CD, any one of the pickups that the CD takes did up the tonight. Most. But, so, again, both of us love it when we can get in on something when it's still relatively cheap, which is, really cool there. One thing that we both very recently experienced, and some of our viewers no doubt have, is one of the many, many, many sales we see every year from Sentai Filmworks. And it was one of the better ones they've done so far this year. It was a pretty decent sale, and I made a couple of small pickups from it, which I should be able to present pretty sure they've both shipped, so
They ship quick too.
I might have something next week, so I should have something next week from them. But we talked when he presented Food Wars about how oftentimes you got to get in on the special sets because you never know when they'll go out of print, but usually you're safe with the not so special sets. But every now and then that logic gets shot to hell, and every now and then there'll be a series that inexplicably drops from their catalog. And one that we both had, that I think we both bought on sale pretty cheaply, if I had to guess, I think I paid around 18, maybe 16. I don't think it was cheaper than that, but I really don't know because it's been so long, and I didn't realize that I was going to want to remember this. But a series that I bought sight unseen, but I knew something about the people involved, and I had stumbled across the theme song online and heard it and loved it, and I watched it and I absolutely loved it, and it has become a beloved series that inexplicably has gone out of print and is now expensive as hell. Is a little series called Angel Beats.
Tearjerker.
Definite tearjerker, written by Jun Maeda, the guy behind Clannad and Air and Canon, and a co-production with Aniplex, and that's probably why it's out of print. It's probably why it's out of print. Aniplex, I believe, I'm pretty sure they bought back the rights to pretty much everything they had. And they have not gotten around to re-releasing this. And if they do, you know it's going to be expensive as hell for the re-release.
$20 an episode.
Versus $20 for the series if you bought it from Sentai. So, it's a 13 episode plus the OVA. This is a really, really, really good show. Basically, it takes place in something that could be considered the afterlife. It's kind of like the show we recently covered on Movies Galore, Death Parade, in that it is an interesting take on what happens before you really pass on. And of course, all of these youths are approximately high school age. They're the guy wakes up in this strange place, and it's like a high school, but there's, as you can tell from the cover, a militant faction. There's the girl that nobody trusts that I believe is considered an angel, or I think that's her title, if I remember correctly. And then, as the series goes on, this being a Jun Maeda tearjerker, you learn about what happened to each individual person. And as it goes on, I believe some of them do pass on and actually go on to the better place. It does have a great music subplot with, what do they call themselves? Dead Girl something or other. It's like
they formed a band.
Yeah, there's a great band that has some great insert songs. But the opening song by Leah, My Soul Your Beats, that is a classic opening theme. But I never knew when I bought this that it was going to turn out to be a favorite and a favorite pickup because of, again, it got so freaking expensive. Even if Aniplex re-releases it, this version is going to hold its value because, so very cool. Hey, Foo.
I swear.
Cats.
Yeah. Well, with that being said, if y'all have been with us since we started, well, why? But
we thank you for it.
Yes. But other than that, though, it has been an interesting 4 years. We've had quite a bit going on. And I think this long episode has been quite the celebration of physical media. I hope you all have enjoyed this. if you have, hit that like button, hit that subscribe, and share. Because our next big project is we are hosting the very first Versus Awards. It's going to be SeptumSin versus the awards on September 30th.
The votes are in and they are tallied.
Yes.
And we are going to be working together to make this a really fun awards show.
So stay tuned for that, because we are going live on the 30th of September at 9 Eastern Standard Time.
All right.
Well, the awards aren't going to be live, but we're going to be there live for the premiere in the comments section, talking it out, and you'll be likely seeing commercials for it upcoming, where I'm in the midst of filming them, and we're going to put together a nice commercial for that.
All right.
So, we'll see you on the next one.
Bye.
Goodbye.